Symbols can have power and meaning, but much like the leftover pizza on your coffee table, what starts out as something good often takes a turn for the worse. Some symbols we've known all of our lives have a much different meaning buried deep in the past. Metal horns. They're known as devil horns, hook'em horns, or the rock on sign. At their best, they get in the way of the band at every rock concert. At their worst, they're seen as the sign of the devil. However, the symbol didn't begin that way. It was originally a sign to ward off evil, even mentioned in Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1897. So how did it become the sign we know and love? Well, heavy metal icon Ronnie James Dio started doing it as part of his shows, and people got the idea it was demonic because Dio just looks like a guy who would summon Satan to help him hit the high notes. In fact, he learned it from an unlikely source, his grandmother.
She said it was called the Maloik. The Maloik is protection against the evil eye.
Even though Gene Simmons claims to have invented it for the cover of Love Gun, the origins are pretty clear. Pentagram. You've seen plenty of pentagrams in horror movies, usually when something evil is happening. So it's no wonder that pentagrams are seen as signs of the devil. But while the pentagram is definitely not a Christian symbol now, it actually used to be. There are even references to the pentagram being a deterrent of evil in the play Faust. Then around the year 1900, the occult symbols of the Renaissance began creeping into modern day. The thinking was this: by flipping the pentagram upside down, the symbolism changed. Instead of representing humanity and the importance of the spirit, it placed matter and lust over spiritual goals. Stick a goat head in there, and you have the copyrighted logo of the Church of Satan. So it's not hard to see why the change took place. Pink triangle. The pink triangle is used across America as a symbol of gay pride. It's branded on buildings, as part of organizations, and worn on people's clothes. That whole on clothes thing is actually how it started, just in a very negative way. During the Holocaust, when people were arrested, they were marked with different triangles according to their crimes. You know the overlapping yellow triangles for Jewish prisoners, but there were a bunch of others, including one for communists, one for normal criminals, and a pink one for homosexuals. Years later, that symbol of horror and oppression was reclaimed as a symbol of hope and pride, which is pretty awesome. Upside-down cross. If the cross is the symbol of Christianity, then an upside-down cross has to mean something evil, right? It's basically necessary for any horror movie to work. Well, sorry to ruin your blasphemous fun, but that's the exact opposite of the meaning an upside-down cross had in the first place. According to historical accounts, St. Peter insisted on being crucified upside down because he felt he wasn't good enough to be crucified the same way Jesus was. The symbol went from a sign of respect and humility to a vaguely evil sign in the same way the pentagram did. The swastika. Everybody knows the swastika, the symbol of the Third Reich and Nazi Germany during World War II. Even today, it's used as a symbol of violence and oppression and cannot legally be sold or displayed in Germany. Except, here's the thing. When it started, it was a good thing. Before Adolf Hitler decided to use it as a symbol for hate, the swastika was a sign of well-being and good fortune.
For me personally, the swastika means hope, it means purity, it means auspiciousness.
World religions have used it as a positive emblem for thousands of years, and it's still a prominent figure in Hindu and Buddhist temples. And then, Nazis.
Nazis. I hate these guys.
The Guy Fawkes mask. In 1605, Guy Fawkes went down in history as Britain's most infamous traitor when he was caught trying to blow up the House of Lords. In England, Fawkes has always been remembered by burning effigies of him once a year, because you don't generally celebrate people who try to blow up government buildings. But then a comic book came along and changed everything. With Alan Moore's V for Vendetta comic series and the subsequent film, the Guy Fawkes mask, previously usually only used at those effigies, came to represent something else. Now, it was being used as a disguise to topple a corrupt government in an imaginary future. Based on that alone, it became a symbol of resistance, anonymity, and revolution. Who says comics don't make a difference? Arm and hammer. These days, the image of an arm and a hammer means one thing: baking soda.
It absorbs and eliminates odors down here, in the freezer, and right here.
But that little logo has a pretty bizarre history. The Arm & Hammer design originally started out as a representation of Vulcan, the Roman god of fire, who apparently liked to do his blacksmithing in the nude. In the 1800s, industrial workers borrowed the symbol for their unions, and it even became part of Wisconsin's state flag. Laborers adored it so much, in fact, that they kept it when they organized a brand new organization, the Socialist Party of America. In other words, we all can learn a valuable lesson from baking soda. Symbols really only mean what you want them to mean.
Morty, you gotta flip him off. I told him it means peace among worlds. How hilarious is that?
Thanks for watching. Click the grunge icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.